What's up everyone, it's NP back here with another video. As you guys have probably already seen, Apple just last week released 3 new Macs. The first of which was being the MacBook Air, then the Mac Mini, and finally the 13-inch MacBook Pro. All of which have the brand new Apple M1 silicon chip in them. This M1 chip brings a whole lot of speed, power, and performance to the Mac line. And in today's video, I purchased a brand new base model 13-inch MacBook Pro with the new silicon. But before we crack it open, let's first talk a little bit about the new silicon chip and its strengths and weaknesses. This new chip is known as an SoC, or System on a Chip. What this means is that the RAM, CPU, and GPU are all on the same little 5nm chip. Now the downside to this is that the RAM is non-upgradable, but they weren't really upgradable anyway in the past few years of MacBooks, at least no one really upgraded them. However, there's this weird thing on the Apple website where these new silicon chips don't have any higher than 16GB of RAM. Literally in the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini, there's nothing higher than 16GB. Yet you can still purchase an Intel Mac, and if you look at the Intel Mac Mini, you can go up to 64GB of RAM. But the upside of having the CPU, GPU, and RAM all in the same chip is that Apple gets to improve efficiency and power management. So for example, the RAM doesn't need to take a certain amount of power separately from the CPU and from the GPU. It's all just on one chip, taking a set amount of power. Now, in the keynote, Apple gave a lot of comparisons, but they weren't really any specific comparisons. For example, they said that their 8-core GPU would be up to 5 times faster. But 5 times faster than what? If you go on the Apple website and scroll down, it actually says that it's 5 times faster than the Intel Core i7 MacBook Pro with Intel Iris Plus graphics, and they're both at 16GB of RAM and 2TB of storage. And the same goes with the machine learning. They claim that it's up to 11 times faster performance compared to the highest performing integrated GPU used for notebooks and desktops commercially available at the time of testing, whatever that means. And they gave even more claims during the keynote, but you get the point. They don't really state what they're actually comparing their MacBooks to. One of the major things that the M1 chip can do is that it can run iOS and iPadOS apps directly on the MacBook. Another upside is that it has all-day battery life, up to 20 hours, which is the longest on any Mac. Now keep in mind it's only 20 hours for the MacBook Pro, and I think around 18 hours for the MacBook Air. Yet that's still amazing. And yet again, Apple continues to lock down their computers, especially after implementing the new chip. Practically, if you get this Mac, or any of these new M1 chip Macs, you can't upgrade it at all. The Retina display is the same, and the iSight camera also hasn't changed. Even though they changed the image signal processing, or ISP, it's still at 720p, which is kind of disappointing. Other than that, everything else is the same. I mean, they say now they have a 3-mic array studio quality microphone, and that's about it. There's nothing really new to the chassis of the computer itself. It's just the M1 chip. Now, what really puzzled me is that in the 13-inch MacBook Pro, they only put the M1 chip in the lower tier MacBooks. So on the Apple product page, there are 4 options. The first 2 options only have 2 Thunderbolt ports, and those are also the MacBooks that have the M1 chips inside. And the higher tier ones are the Intel-based MacBooks. But that doesn't really make any sense. Isn't the new Apple Silicon chip faster than the Intel chip? I mean, they're boasting about all these good speeds, so why would they put a faster chip in a lower tier MacBook Pro? The weirdness doesn't stop there, as the configuration pages for both the MacBook Air and Mac Mini are also super confusing. What the real question is, however, is should you buy the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro? I mean, the MacBook Air has the exact same chip as the MacBook Pro, but the MacBook Pro has a touch bar and a fan. I mean, they both have the same amount of RAM and the same amount of storage, but the MacBook Air has only 2 hours less of battery life. But other than that, they're literally the exact same. And on the MacBook Air, there are 2 different tiers, but one tier has only one more GPU core than the other. So will one GPU core make that much of a difference? Well, the worst part is that no one really knows, because no one has used these new M1 chips. Alright, now I've done enough talking, so let's go and get the new MacBook Pro and let's crack it open. this is a base model MacBook Pro that I got. Now, why would I buy the base model? Well, it might seem as if I'm only purchasing it for the fan and for the touch bar, but because of the fan, you might see a better performance from the MacBook Pro. But again, no one knows, so I just decided to bite the bullet and spend the extra money, and I'm kind of excited to see what it can do. Alright, here is the box. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to open this. Let's go crack it right here open right now. I'm so excited. Oh, with the MacBook Pro logo. Woo! Oh, wow, 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 wow. Also bought a couple of external things like a USB and a dongle. Taking off the wrapper. There it is. There she is. Oh my gosh. So there's a MacBook, and here are the accessories, like the power adapter and the cord. And opening it. Oh my gosh, that's so satisfying. But that's the MacBook Pro right there. And I mean, it looks so clean. It's also way smaller than I expected. So yeah. And here we are opening up the brand new, I haven't even opened them. These new the new dongle that I bought, and the USB. And the USB drive is I think it's around like 128 gigabytes. That's like half of the MacBook Pro. That's like the MacBook Pro is like 256, and this one, the USB is 128. That's crazy. I mean, I'm not gonna be using it as like a backup drive. I'm gonna be using it more as like to store like files and apps and such. And yeah, I mean, honestly, it's so cool. It's so clean too. It's amazing. But yeah. Now, I haven't had too much time to take a look and to install apps and such. So, I mean, this is, again, only first impressions as a high schooler. It's amazing, honestly. I'm going to actually really quick go to the microphone of the MacBook Pro itself, so I could show you and to see test, I guess, if it's truly the studio quality microphone. But I mean, for what it is, I mean, the touch bar, it's all just super nice. And I mean, no wonder people love editing videos. I mean, that touch bar to split clips, that's such an advantage. I mean, like, so many people already have one of these MacBooks, but this is me. I was actually coming from a 2011 15-inch MacBook Pro, and the graphics actually failed on that one like a few months ago. And then I did like some hack with some like code to disable the GPU and to only go through the integrated one. Anyway, if you don't know what that is, pretty much the computer was broken and I revived it practically. And yeah, it was honestly on its last legs. Anytime you would open a new tab, the fans would be spinning like crazy. So I need a new MacBook, and I got it, and it's honestly, it's amazing, and I would recommend it. Oh, actually, I haven't reviewed it yet, but going from what it is, I think it's definitely worth it. It's pricey, but it's worth it in the long run. It'll definitely last. But this is just the beginning bare bones capability of what the M1 chip can do, and I'm super excited to see the new chip being implemented in the 16-inch MacBook Pro and the iMacs and things like that. Like, that's going to be crazy power. It actually might not even be this chip. It'll be probably like what is it? Probably like an M2 chip or two M1 chips. I don't know. Something that's I think is pretty cool. But let's test out the new studio quality microphone. Alright, so this is now recording from the MacBook Pro microphone. Is there a difference? I don't know. We'll probably find out soon enough when I'm editing the video. And yeah. this is it. All right. Well, on that note, that's been it. This is NP. And yeah, hopefully you guys, if you guys buy it, hopefully you guys enjoy this MacBook as much as I do, as much as I am. Full review will probably be coming out in a few weeks or so. But yeah, super excited to use this on the daily. It's so awesome. But anyway, that's been it. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.